The Wednesday LiveStream for Dulcimer Crossing. Today, what we're going to focus on is something that's going to help us with our rhythm and our timing. But before we get to that, I want to do a couple of things here. I'm launching my summer classes next week, and today is the deadline to sign up for those. And I have 2 hammer dulcimer classes that go 6 weeks at a time. One meeting a week. This is on Zoom, and everybody gets the PDF handouts and sound files and an archive video after the class to reinforce the learning. First one is hammer dulcimer hand separation skills and tunes, and what I wish I knew when I began playing hammer dulcimer. Those are on Mondays at 2 different times. On Tuesday is a guitar class that's a fingerstyle class to help develop skills for fingerstyle playing using Beethoven's Ode to Joy. And on Wednesday are 2 mountain dulcimer classes. One is traditional noter style, and one is arranging popular tunes for the mountain dulcimer. So today is the deadline to sign up for those. I'll give you the link in the Dulcimer Crossing Facebook page in the video so that you'll be able to see that and find it. And there we go. Okay, so I'll put that. Good morning, Talon. So that's there. And next, there are a couple of other things happening that I want to let you know about, which are really exciting. And one is, this is a brand new, unique thing. The Wallowa Dulcimer Festival, Wallowa Dulcimer Week, is taking place right now. This is in Northeast Oregon, Joseph, Oregon, but it is the regular scheduled time for their camp. But here's what's new. They're having a Zoom component for extra classes and activities. And so this is the first hybrid festival that I know about that anybody has tried to offer. And then finally, at the end of this week, is the Dutchland Gathering, DutchlandDulcimers.org. This is the second time that they've been on Zoom, but that's one where there is no advanced registration necessary. You can, I believe, oops, nope, I'm sorry. Registration's already closed, July 1st. So anyway, that's happening this weekend. Those are 2 different things that are happening in our world. Okay, now our theme today. A lot of people that I work with, I just had a private student and who was struggling with making some decisions about timing. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Because that's something a lot of people struggle with. How do I get my timing steady when I'm playing? It doesn't matter what instrument it is, I have to get my timing steady. And the first thing we need to talk about is someone will say, I can't play this song, and they've got a particular idea in their head of what they want the song to sound like. But I always want to know, what do you mean by playing the song? So I'm going to get a mountain dulcimer. So, Rakes of Mallow is one of those tunes that has some some fast notes and some just regular notes. And if I want to play this one, I have several options, but a lot of times people don't recognize that what we have are options, and how we play it is our decision. So I could just do it this way, and this is why we're talking levels of beat today. Because inside every song, there is some kind of a pulse or beat I could play only when the chords change. In this case, I've got a D chord. Now I'm keeping the melody going with my mouth. That's the rhythm of the melody. Da, 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 and I can count that, but I don't want to get there just yet. A lot of people say that is what they want to do. And so they're trying to get all the intricacies of what's going on in the melody. And if you can get into the beat of the song first, that's an entry point. And sometimes we want to master the thing before we can even step in the door. So let's do it the other way around, step into the door. All I did was play when I changed chords. But what if I played only on the first beat of the measure? Dun 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 da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun dun or da 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 dun dun dun. Only the first beat of the measure. Bum bum ba da 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 bum bum 3 4 1 2 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 4 1 and 2 and 3 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now I could play on the first beat and the second beat. I'm playing faster, but the melody is not going faster. I could play on the 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 4 2 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 4. I could play on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the subdivisions of the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and every one of those is a legitimate way to play this song. Then I could play the melody of the song. And I was playing single strings. I could play drone and only add the drones when the chords change. I could do it on the first beat, the second beat. I could do all the beats. I could do the eighths. And all of those would be ways of playing the same song. They can be, sometimes I can't do what I want to do yet. So do I conclude I can do nothing? Sometimes. I'm no good. I am crap. You know, we tend to, in perform any kind of artistic thing, we tend to say, I am wonderful or I am nothing, with these wide extremes and nothing about the continuum anywhere in the way. And I've mentioned this before, I'll say it again. My dad was a very, very gifted artisan and artist. He I found a collection of his cartoons that he did when he was in the army and in college and in medical school that were really cool. His drawings, and as a child, I always liked Dad. I liked it when he drew pictures, but I really wanted more than his picture. I wanted to be able to do what he did. I said, Dad, can you teach me how to draw it? He said, yes. You go like this, you make a line, and then you make a cross, and you make a triangle, and you draw a circle. And it's like, I didn't want to draw shapes. I wanted to draw a face. I wanted to draw a body. I want to draw a person. And he was showing me how to do it in steps. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to just freehand the whole thing from the beginning without ever doing any of those internal things. And what we're talking about today are the internal things that can help you get where you want to go. So understanding the levels of the beat can help us have a way into the tune and make decisions about what we want to do in our playing of it. Now, Doug, you're saying it's difficult because you hear the way a song sounds in a certain recording, certain performance, and that may be your end goal, and you may not feel like you have the steps or the tools to break it down to get there. But when you are moved by a piece of music, often you're moved with a feeling, or you're moved with a rhythm, or you're moved with a pitch. There's something about it that attracts you. And if you can find what that is, excuse me, and repeat that, that'll be your toehold to get in. Good point, Doug. I love that. Your mother was a musician. You don't recall ever hearing her practice, but you did hear her play a lot. And now you're thinking some of what you thought she was playing was actually practicing. But it was working because you didn't hear it as deadly practice. You heard it as playing, which is why I always say that the tagline is we play music, we don't work music. Now there is work to be able to play the music, and applying oneself and our focus and our attention and our energies to being able to do what we want to do, well, that can sometimes feel like drudgery. It can feel like work. It can feel like, ugh, I don't want to do this. But it can also help us do what we want to do. So, Mary Poppins like, in every task you undertake can become a piece of cake, a lark, a spree. It's very clear to see with a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. You can, in every task that in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. Oh, I'm trying to think of the two writers who wrote that song. It had to do with the polio vaccine, actually. The one writers, I can't remember their name right now, but the child took the polio vaccine at school and came home, and Dad asked, how was it? He says, like when they gave me a spoonful of sugar. And it was like, helps the medicine go down. Okay. If we can find ways to take the things we want to do that are difficult and make them fun, or make a game out of it, or make a little exercise that can be a toy that we play with, it can help us do what we want later. That's what this is all about. So in my life of teaching preschool music with children often their hearts beat fast, right? Because they're small and they're tiny and the blood's going through their body so fast. But they're sitting there with a parent who's got a grown-up adult heart, and the heartbeat for the parent is going a lot slower than the child's beat. So let's think of a song that might be. Here's one of the songs we'd work with, Old Joe Clark. When I would do this, the little children would immediately start clapping with me. Some of the adults would be able to do it. Some of them would not, because this is quite fast. And their brain is thinking, that's fast. I can't go that fast. So the next time through, while I'm still singing the da 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 da, all of a sudden the adults join in because they could do the beat. Bum 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Both of these coexist within the song. This micro beat, which is this really fast one, and the bum 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 bum. Then there is the elongation of the the elongation of the beat, where I can go bum 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 Bum, 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 bum. I can further elongate it. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And this is the way that you can experiment with a recording that you already know. A recording that is one that you're having difficulty decoding. Find what's the level of the beat that's going on here. Now, in rock music, sometimes that's the cowbell. And sometimes the cowbell is on the backbeat, not the downbeat. You can figure that out. But if you hear that, don't fear the reaper, don't fear the reaper, you know, dun, 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 dun. The other place that you'll hear that kind of a beat is in the hi-hat. That's the mini micro beat. I grew up, I was a teenager in the 70s, disco, shaft, ha. And the bass drum, which is where we often think of the beat, could sometimes be on the beat, or it can be a double beat, or when it gets into prog rock, it gets to be very interesting other stuff other than the beat. And so you got to look for, where is this rhythm being held? Where is it happening? In any song that we want to play, there's going to be a place to find the beat. There's going to be a place to subdivide it into smaller bits, and there's going to be places to elongate it to make it bigger. And all of them can relate to it. If we can get ourselves in time with the beat of what we're trying to play, it's going to help a lot. Now, let's apply this first on the mountain dulcimer, because that's what I have right here. Now, you'll notice there was some moving that was not matching with what I was playing the beat. And the da 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 da. So even when my strum was doing this, I was doing some hammering on, and you may not have heard it very well. That was the microbeat. When I did this big long beat, I don't even get all the chords may not change when it's time for the beat. And I'm making the decision that I want to focus on the beat right now, not what the chords are doing. Or not playing when the chords say I got to play, because sometimes the chord happens. Thanks. You're close. You're very close, Doug. It started at the 4th fret, which is what makes you think it might be Dorian, but it finishes at Do, and it does have a flatted note in it. So what's a scale that has one flatted note in it rather than 2 flatted notes? Because the Dorian scale has 2 flatted notes. You're so close. It's the mode that when you're with people, I'll say, this is a modal tune, and this is the one they're referring to. I'll let that be the mystery that you can sort out. Now, let me let me approach this on the hammered dulcimer because, oops, how did I do that? I didn't even know I could do that. I've got all these eighth note runs and things. I can break it down so that I'm playing with levels of beat and playing what would be the 1 and 5 of the chords, the D and the A, the A and the E, and the G for the G and the D. And then I was playing 2 different levels of beat with different hands. And because 2 different hands can do 2 different things, the hammer dulcimer gives a different kind of a possibility for playing with levels of beat with myself. So that's a way that can happen. Now I can also quite complicated as I try to play an accompaniment, but my accompaniment is based on this levels of beat idea as I do that. Now I see a couple things written here. Yes, Doug, you're right. Mixolydian is the one that it was for the old Joe Clark tune. It's got the flat 7, but not the flat 3. Let's see. Tal's question on a mountain dulcimer. Yes, floating bridges versus a fixed bridge. So let's do a side-by-side comparison. Here is you can see I'm not wearing any shoes today. We've got 9 days in a row of over 100, and it's just continuing. So let me get these in here. This one has got a fixed bridge, the McSpadden. It's very close to the end of the dulcimer. There's a strum hollow here, but it's fixed. There's not much that's happening here on the other side of that. This has got a bridge. It's glued on, but it is in front of the tail piece. The tail's here. There's some space. And then the bridge is all the way up here. This is not one. This is also fixed. But your question has to do with something called compensation. And I'm going to show you one more. which is an example of the bridge this is the Robert Stevenson Stevenson Luthery. It is fixed, but it is floating as well. And I don't know if you can see. There's a little, right here in this middle string, there's a little, it's a little different. There's a gouge, it looks like, in the bridge. I'll tip it that way you can see. That's part of the compensation for the different gauges of strings, so that where the string actually ends, where it starts vibrating on the bass, on the bridge side, each string can be slightly different from each other. If you have a bridge that's just going straight across, the strings are at different gauges, and so their optimal vibrating string length to be in tune may not all be the same. And so some builders will do what's called compensate. And guitars are quite well known for that, because there's 6 different strings of different gauges, and getting them all to be able to play in tune, compensation is the way that you can individually compensate it. Now, to go back to comparing, now this is not floating because they are fixed to the instrument, but this instrument, the bridge is the place. Well, it is floating. It's just in this slot. Because it was floating, when I moved it, it put it out of tune a little bit, so I had to retune. This one has a 0 fret, right? On the inside of the bridge is a 0 fret, and this begins the vibrating length of the strings until it goes to the bridge over here. Now, the way the slots are filed is what ends up being the compensation there. So I don't know if this is getting at what you're asking about or noticing, Talon. New harmony dulcimers have fine tuners, like the equivalent of a violin fine tuner, that happens behind the bridge or slightly in front of it. I don't have one of those, so I'm not exactly sure. But it's the slight differences of what happens on the string can do some fine tuning. And the purpose of that is for the fine tuning. So before we go, I just want to remind you again, in case you didn't hear at the beginning, this is the final day to register for my summer classes that start next week. 2 hammered, 1 guitar, and 2 mountain dulcimer classes. These are 6-week classes that last an hour each session. They're happening 2 different times on Monday, 1 time on Tuesday, and 2 different times on Wednesday. And the link to find that is in the chat today. Today's the deadline for registration. And you have an instrument with the tuners being behind the bridge. Okay. There is Tom Yaki, I think, is one of the builders who builds that way. Okay, I see you're looking to help something. And what's happening is that the harmonics are not coming out right when you are playing. Is that what's happening? because that's often a good sign that you need some help with. Okay, you got the new harmony. So yeah, you have some fine tuners. Yes, that's what you're saying. Got it. Okay. And there are some instruments, Talon, that when you go up the fretboard, they're in tune for the first 7 or 8 frets, and they get above that and they can be out of tune because they're just not placed well. It could be an issue with where the bridge is, but you got to be careful because if they are accurately placed up into the first point and you fix them so they're good above that, it might make these be out of tune. Got it. So you're making a dulcimer playable, which you're having some difficulty with. Excellent. The other thing is sometimes old dulcimers were made to be played in a drone style, and the placement of the fret is more crucial for the melody string, less for the bass strings, which are thicker than the melody. So if you do this, you might be lifting up or something on the other side of the nut. You might be helping to get them better in tune for you. Well, good for you. I love dulcimer ingenuity. Well, that's what I have for us today. Levels of the beat, and then answer your questions. Thanks for your questions; those are so helpful to have. We're continuing to work backstage to get things set up for the brand new website, and making some good progress. I will be looking for some of you who have said you want to be beta testers, looking to be able to do that relatively soon. I want to do that this month. But I don't know yet, don't yet have a day that's going to happen. But that's coming. And thanks, Talon. I will do my best to stay cool. And I'll sign off now and look forward to seeing you next week.